Hi, my name is David Blacker, and I'm a travel and documentary photographer primarily, but I also write. And for me, the cameras I usually require need to be sort of all-round cameras because the kind of photography I do doesn't allow me to do a lot of intrusive lighting, a lot of modification of the scene. So it's got to be a camera that will handle everything, whether it's low lighting, whether it's people running around, whether the weather is good or bad. A lot of these things can't be planned. So I need something that works all around, all the time, and that I can depend on without having to worry too much about conditions. So, as I was saying, I always look for a camera that would work in all conditions, and I've been a photographer for about 10 years now, and I've been getting more and more into specific kinds of photography in the last 4 years. For me, DSLRs always provided whatever I needed, and by the time the 5D Mark IV came along, I mean, there just didn't seem any way that anything could be improved. So, frankly, when mirrorless started to arrive on the scene, I always thought, why do I need mirrorless? I mean, how much better than this can it get? So, like for me, the 5D, the 6D were great cameras, and Canon's been what I've been using throughout my career, and I just didn't really see a need to switch to anything else. I mean, like I said, I didn't really see what was really wrong with the DSLR, or I didn't really, if you ask me, I couldn't really point out real issues because we've been using DSLRs for so long that we didn't really see a problem. But if pressed, I mean, there are things that you can talk about. I mean, one of my jobs was also shooting for certain travel magazines and newspapers. So sometimes it required walking and hiking long distances. And if you're carrying something like the 5D, plus a couple of telephoto lenses, things like that. Eventually, as all photographers will tell you, your neck and your back starts to go, feel it over the years. So perhaps weight was one of the few things that I really saw as an issue. So a couple of years ago, I was introduced to Canon's latest camera range, which was the R, mirrorless range. And at the time, what I was introduced to was the EOS R, which was sort of the first step into the pool for Canon when it came to mirrorless. And for me, I specifically took the camera out to shoot at night in Colombo, and I was using that alongside a 5D Mark IV, and it was quite a moment for me because I was skeptical even when I came in, picked up the cameras. Size didn't seem such a big deal at the time because I both had the 24s 105s on them. I was also using some larger lenses which are like 16 to 35. So the size difference didn't seem so impactful at the time. But throughout that evening of shooting, walking around Colombo, the weight probably the thing that I noticed first. That shooting with the cameras was a lot less fatiguing. But aside from that, I mean, discomfort is just part of being a photographer, but one of the important things with that was it was quite clear even on the R that I could shoot at much slower shutter speeds when I'm out shooting in the night, and which meant I could shoot at lower ISOs settings. I didn't have to use a tripod as often as I would have to with a DSLR, and that was still one of the early cameras in this range. The cameras now, which I'll talk a bit about in a few minutes, even further along the road. I've just started to use some of the newer, more recent additions to our range, which is like the R5 and the R6. As I've started to use these, you now begin to see that there are a lot of things that the DSLR didn't have, that this has, which we never noticed before because we just didn't realize what was possible. And one of these things is obviously focusing. And I spoke earlier about how the R range kind of wowed me with its low light capability. And the same thing when it came to the focusing. A lot of focusing in low light was a lot more straightforward, much more simpler. You didn't have to be hunting for, high contrast places in your frame to try and get a focus there. It was much faster and much easier. And things like eye tracking, which, again, DSLR was only possible when you're using the LCD screen, you're using live view. Whereas with the R range, you've got it all the time. So if you're someone who is shooting people, and I shoot a lot of people, and again, like I was saying, shooting people in situations where it's not always posed. So I've got to be able to quickly focus, refocus, and this helps a lot. I also found setting up the camera to be quite smooth and simple. I mean, if you're used to setting up your menus for your 5D or 1D or whatever full frame or even crop sensor that you're using at the moment, moving to this didn't have any hassle at all, because if you've used Canons before, and everyone knows how user-friendly the menus on Canon is, moving to the R range was, you know what to expect. So it's not like you've got to learn a whole new thing. But it also is quite simplified, and having, of course, now all the screens touch, again, makes that as well quite a lot easier as well. But everything's a lot more streamlined, a lot more simplified, and also it gives you the choices that you really need a lot faster. So that, if you need the camera to be following people or vehicles, all that, you can just set that up very quickly, very simply, without too much hassle at all. And so if you've been using Canon DSLRs, moving to this is just a piece of cake. You're not relearning anything. So another really cool thing that we're getting with this R range is this converter. So one of the things I think a lot of DSLR users are concerned about, and it worried me as well, is what do I do with all my EF mount lenses? And it just seems like a big commitment to have to buy all these new RF lenses. And thanks to the converter, you can use all of your EF lenses on the R range. Which is great. It's a chance then for you to try out cameras before, if you've not decided which R camera you want. You've got the lenses, all you need is, you can borrow a camera, rent a camera, you try it out, see how it works. All of your great EF lenses that you love can be used with this. So it's a big step. Changing camera systems always is a stressful thing that people, photographers hate doing that. Why do we have to change systems? Why do we have to get rid of everything? But so you may not be convinced. I'm sure you guys have all heard people talk about this. You may be convinced, you may not be sure, you can't afford it. Is it the right time to make this investment? There's all that stuff. And it's the same for me. But what I encourage you to do is try it out and just give it a shot. Get your hands on some of these R cameras and just try it out. Because you won't need me to convince you. You convince yourself or not. But either way you're doing, whichever route you're taking, it's pretty clear that the mirrorless is the future for Canon as well as for lots of other brands. And with the Canon cameras, here there's good opportunity to really try it out, because there's a range of it. They're available. You've got the lenses, so just try it. Just check it out and figure it out yourself. So Canon in Colombo and in Sri Lanka has got a great setup here. They've got their showrooms at Braybrook Place. They've got staff that's gonna help you figure out which camera is best for you. They've got a lot of experience. They've got a service center here. So you've got a lot of support in the system for you to help decide what you're going to do. So I'm just saying, just take the chance, walk into Canon, call them up, just go in, because it's a nice setup, and you're going to get a good opportunity to just try out, handle some of these cameras, ask the questions that you want directly from these guys, and figure it out. I don't think you'll get a better chance than this to have a go with the range. So take it.